Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I actually wanted to make a quick little video on signs, numbers, and synchronicities on your twin flame journey. Now, this particular topic can be rather confusing for some individuals who are trying to decipher if they are twin flames or if they are dealing with a soulmate. And that's why this topic for me particularly isn't one of my favorites, because it's easy to get it confused. So today I wanted to make a little video to see if you can, possibly use this video to really guide you if you are a twin flame, and when and how this really might happen in your situation so that you are identifying it correctly. First off, it's really important to understand and really identify the signs and synchronicities, especially the numbers that you may see repetitively on your twin flame journey, as being something that, all of a sudden kind of shows up and you recognize that it's really, the universe is trying to get your attention because something massive is taking place in your life that you need to pay attention to, which is very different than confirmation bias. This is when, let's say, you watch a YouTube video about a twin flame, you're confident that you are dealing with, a twin flame that actually might be a soulmate, but you now hear that, if you were seeing 1111, you are dealing with a twin flame. And then all of a sudden, you now start to see 1111 everywhere. And what you're really doing is just confirming your own inner belief that you are a twin flame when you might actually not be. So it's really important to pay attention, first off, that you are, when you actually start to see these numbers and signs that really show up for you on your twin flame journey, it's really catching your attention, and then you are actually going to possibly research what's happening. I can share a particular example in my own situation. I am not actually someone that dealt with angel numbers prior to my twin flame journey. And so really when 1111 particularly started showing up for me, it was simply because it was a number that was showing up for me everywhere, and that had never happened to me before. And I got curious about what this was. And I'm talking about, I started to see this number on my car gauge, and really being stuck on my car gauge, and on my phone, my receipts popping up everywhere. I would be number 1111, order number 111. And so that's where I started to get curious, because it literally happened in the span of maybe a couple of weeks. And so I had to go to really research what that was and why these numbers kept showing up for me everywhere. I would arrive for a pickup somewhere and the house number would be 111. And it was like, okay, this is getting a little weird. Why is this number following me? So something like that. And really what was happening for me, particularly at that time in my life, was I was closing out a massive chapter, and the entrance of my twin flame was about to happen. So these two together were massive, major events in my life that I could really associate that number with. And shortly after, those numbers stopped appearing for me until it was time for me to shift into the next part of my journey. They started showing up again. So really what I'd like for you to focus on, if you believe that this is for you, you are a twin flame, is take a look at not just the angel numbers alone. And I say that because there's a lot of people today that look into angel numbers. They believe they have a life path number that shows up for them all the time. And while that may be true, it is not true that only twin flames see angel numbers or see these life path numbers, whatever those numbers look like for you on your journey. So it's really important to make that distinction, is why are these numbers appearing at this time? For twin flames, it appears closer to when the twin is actually about to walk into your life, other major milestones on your twin flame journey, and then they start to show up again when you're about to come into union, similar to when they first appeared for you. So take a look at those milestones on your journey, and that's how you really should be identifying whether or not you are a twin flame. at how confirmation bias can really be confused if you are someone that's just dealing with a soulmate. You see angel numbers, and really, you know, those could be something personal to anybody, and it doesn't just need to be twin flames. But let's say that you have you see 222 all the time, and you've seen that throughout your life, and now you've run into a soulmate, and all of a sudden this is happening to you again. You come into a video about twin flames, and you are mistakenly thinking that that is your situation. So take a look at other patterns on your journey based on other videos and information that might be available to you. But if all you're seeing is the signs and synchronicities, do not take that as your only sign as you dealing with the person you're dealing with being your twin flame. That is crucial and key here. I will share that, around the time that 1111 started showing up for me the very first time in my life, I actually was dealing with a friend who was stuck in the middle of her life at a really bad chapter in her life. It was not an ending, not a new beginning. She was in the midst of, a really tough battle in her marriage and all of that. With that being said, this is how confirmation bias actually works. She was actually with me at a time when I was able to share with her that this number just keeps showing up for me, and I'm just looking into this. And she was so fascinated by the idea of what was happening to me that literally within a week, she came back to me to tell me how she was seeing the number everywhere. Now, this is why I make that, kind of comparison on take a look at what else is happening in your life at that time. For her, she was still in the midst of learning her lessons, working through whatever challenges were coming her way. So her seeing those numbers wasn't necessarily something that was positive, but really a confirmation bias in terms of her applying what was happening to me to her situation. And this is why, this signs and synchronicities is not a solid sign on its own. And I can't stress that enough. You really need to take a look at what else is going on in your life. So for twins, if you are seeing major shifts and changes, it's really the universe trying to get your attention because of what's about to come next. And it might be twin walking in, reunion, all of that, or a major milestone such as you stepping into your purpose, being guided through numbers and so on and so forth, and other synchronicities that way. So really pay close attention to that, and that should be helpful to you on your twin flame journey. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful.